Hello, everyone. It's Cheryl Millett here, and this program, be it I think it's the second and fourth Wednesday of the month, where it's all things omegas. Now, quite often, omegas, on one hand, you can see just how popular omegas are and have become. Once upon a time, more people will remember taking fish oil, but mostly cod liver oil. And at the time, cod liver oil really was taken for the vitamin A and the vitamin D. And they did realize that the oxidation of oil was very important, that there would be different color, different taste, very light when it was pure and fresh. And that had to be done very, very quickly. And again, that was for the vitamin A and D. Now, people all over the world were consuming cod liver oil for that reason. I'm still not clear why as much for the islands, but there might have been very well, let's say, Scandinavian or British influence as to why people around the equator and the south would actually be taking that. D and A, D being very good for those people in the north, and not so much sun, not so much light, of course, cold, they're out, they're covered up, right? When we talk about the sources of omegas, we're talking more about what has come about in the 70s, in the 80s, even though there was research that was done, and this research was done in the late 1920s, even more so for omega-6, where they discovered a nutrient that actually was not, let's say, if not present, was causing deficiency, is causing problems. They were able to show with this particular fatty acid that there was problem. There was severe deficiencies, if not death and so forth, when it was not there. They've even done research to this day when we don't have the particular long chain essential fatty acids into our brain that affects the glands, that affects the sleeping, that affects the hormones that are being produced, and that is research. When we think of the sources then of omegas, primarily we can first accept that fatty acids are in a number of things. Fatty acids are, as far as I can see, the membranes that we have in our cells. They're global in our body. And I can always talk to what the purpose of them is, or what is deemed as the purpose of them through research and through the field research and the experiences, or let's say the results people get from them. But let's talk to the main sources that have come about to this day and age, 2018. And that would be plant, that would be fish, that would be seal oil. And I'm putting that in there. But there's also the krill oil, green-lipped mussel oil, and like I said, many foods, many things will actually have the fatty acids, but they might not be the essential fatty acids, or they might be the short chain essential fatty acids. So let's go through, I'm just going to go through the main differences between those three, which now I'll put them into category of plant, of fish, and of mammal. So then that way it's a little bit easier that way. All fish, we're talking fish, not the krill, so to speak, that's the sperm whale eats. Well, let's just talk to fish. And it's the cold water fish, right? The cold water fish, it has those essential fatty acids versus the warm fish. They wouldn't have to. It's properties that they have or part of their makeup to survive in the cold. When we think of the differences here, let's start with the length of chain. Now, when I say a chain, yeah, it's a chain. It's a bunch of carbons that come together, right? And in a mammal, there's a triglyceride molecule, they call it, with the fatty acids attached. But if we start with plant is actually a shorter chain. And when the fish eat the plant, then this chain it's a little longer. It's a little longer. Now, when the mammal, and I'm going to specifically look to seal oil because whale blubber is not something that is really out there. Well, you can't buy it in the store. You can't buy it in a supplement, so to speak. When we think of the mammal, and so let's talk to the seal eats the fish, and they actually make it that much longer. So the mammalian chain is longer than the fish, and the fish is longer than the plant. Now, we need enough of the longer chain, for certain functions in our body. That's my understanding. And I'm always open to hear what you understand about it. Or maybe you don't understand. Maybe this is new information for you. So we look at it that way with the chain. When we need enough of the longer chain. Now, what it is spoken in circles, be it vegetarian or be it vegan, is that you can get your chains. Now, they go under different names like ALA, LA, being omega-6, omega-3. We won't try to get technical. And then when, of course, the fish eat them, they convert it to, I'm just going to go with EPA and DHA. And then when the mammal consumes the fish, there's EPA, a DHA, and that's a mammalian, structure, molecule that comes about. It's different than the fish. But there's also another omega-3, I'll say, called DPA that is abundant or kind of in the ratios that we think the EPA, DHA, and DPA that's in our body. Other mammalian sources, just so that you know, is actually breast milk, right? And a lot of mammals, be it land mammals, are not rich in these omegas. If you think about how cold the ocean is, these seals diving hundreds and hundreds of feet require that blubber. So that's why they would have what they have. Yes, there's cholesterol in there. Yes, there's probably some saturated fat in there. There's probably a whole profile of fats there, but it is liquid at room temperature versus a lot of the mammalian, even including the butter fat or milk fat, butter, is solid at even room temperature. So we can see that the makeup for some of the mammalian, that would be land mammals, butter, would actually be more saturated fat. Many of the plants, even olive oil, has other fats other than the monounsaturated fats, right? So we have saturated, we have monounsaturated, and we have polyunsaturated, which is where the essential fatty acids, the ones that we can't make, that we have to get outside, and that's where omega-6 and omega-3 come in. So when we have these three main sources, plant, fish, and mammal, I think the value is knowing what the differences are and therefore what the effects are. So we have the two differences here, right? The length of chain and also the types of omega essential fatty acids or omega-3, omega-6 that are within it, almost like a recipe or profile. And that is different between these three sources. And another difference would be the balance of omega-6 to omega-3. In the plant, a lot of the seed oils are much higher in omega-6. Now remember, this is omega-6, short chain omega-6. This is omega-6 that is more susceptible to oxidation as well. And omega-3 is even more so. We do have certain seeds like flaxseed that are higher in omega-3. Again, shorter chain, it has to be converted, but they're very susceptible to oxidation. And for me, that's just another word for rancidity. And when we think of metals, well, that's, tarnished metals and silver and oxidated. We have copper roof, it gets oxidated and green. So oxygen has this funny, you can look at oxidation as good and bad, although I don't want to kind of paint the brushes, there's any bad. Really, we would want materials on our planet and the foods to decompose. And that, to me, is a breakdown. And there's oxygen and water, which is oxygen is part of water. And that's a normal thing to happen. But when we don't consume these fats and we don't do them fresh, especially these plant sources, and they're higher in omega-3, you have to consume it very quickly, and you'd have to use it up and store it properly, and it would have to be processed, cold pressed, those kind of things. But again, they're short chain, and they have to be converted, enough of them in our body. And it is something, because the digestive system is dysfunctioning for almost all the diseases that I've ever studied. There's a dysfunctioning digestive system. And in fact, in Ayurvedic, or let's say Chinese medicine, very long, long-term, been around for a long time, they will tell you that the gut is the first place to work on. That is dysfunctioning every time or has its issues. And there's surely a number of people that will admit their digestive system is not functioning normally for all the reasons, from constipation to colitis to pain to gas to absorption, all various things that can come to show that you have, digestive issues. When we think of plant, coming into our body and conversion and getting in, it's that much more susceptible to oxidation. Again, it's not the right chain to there. So if you have issues converting, especially when there's stress and the digestive system is not operating the same, efficiencies as if you're not under stress. So stress would play. This is where they say, no time to digest, only time to run from the lion. So our digestive system will interfere with the absorption and the conversion. When we think of plant, we have to digest it. We have to swallow it. We have to take it into the digestive system to get into the other parts of the digestive organs, like the liver, to convert it for the rest of the body. Fish may be that much easier, be it a triglyceride molecule as well. But there is an issue with not being like and like, as in we are mammals, and you have the seal oil. And when the seal oil's triglyceride, let's say, versus the fish triglyceride, there's a significant difference. The difference between the two is the positions of the essential fatty acids. So just stay with me here. It's almost like a jellyfish, but the jellyfish only has 3 tentacles. And so you have a glycerol molecule and you have these 3 fatty acids. When it comes to the fish, the essential fatty acid, right? Because all the fats are fatty acids, but the essential one, like an omega-3, for instance, is on the middle position of the fish. Whereas when you look at the mammal, the position of the essential fatty acids, the ones we need, can't make internally, we need it from outside sources, is actually on the SN1 position and the SN3 position. What does that mean? That's a significant difference. Where our digestive system is not in integrity, not working as well as it needs to be, when you take the mammalian molecule, and you hold it under your tongue, there's sublingual absorption. The salivary glands have these glands, sublingual glands that are part of the salivary glands, that will actually use the 3rd position. Let's say if we have to number them 1, 2, and 3, fish being on the 2nd position and the mammal being on the 1st and the 3rd, let's say the lipase enzymes, the saliva, will break off the 3rd position and absorb it sublingually. We know in medicine you can absorb sublingually. Homeopathics kind of get that from there as well. They absorb sublingually. So with a mammalian, you can bypass the unpredictable digestive system and absorb it sublingually. But here's the trick. We've been talking about plant and fish and mammal, and there's a key difference in any of them and between them and actually having a mammalian molecule, triglyceride essential fatty acids, being absorbed under the tongue. And that is how it is processed. When we think of plant, they're short chain. They have to be converted. I'm just going to put them to the side. They will not absorb sublingually. Okay, we don't want a plant molecule coming into the digestive system and directly into our body. Things need to happen. With the fish, it's more like us, and it has to come apart, but it's doing this in the digestive system. And the mammal will do it sublingually and bypassing the unpredictable digestive system. It doesn't mean some will absorb in there and over time and so forth. But here's the thing. When you process anything, right? So processing a food is meant to make it safe. And we surely have a lot of processed foods on the shelf to make it shelf stable, to make it distribution center stable, so that it will last longer and preserve. So when we have oils, same thing. They will refine it, bleach it, deodorize it, purified it in case of locally distilled. These are fancy names for fish supplements, or even the mammalian seal oil supplements. When they do that to the oil, it's like taking an orange and making Tang instant orange juice crystals. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. When we have raw seal oil, that makes a huge difference. That is the only way that the body will actually sublingually absorb it, and bypassing that unpredictable digestive system. This has been, how can I say, in many ways proven, where I've actually had clients want to get the cheaper form of seal oil, and I gladly say, great, let's keep in touch. I'm very curious on how it works for you. Seeing that when something is raw, high iron, when something is raw, it, let's just say, it is ideal for our body. It is ideal when there's less processing, or even if there's any processing at all. To maintain that raw means that our body will effectively absorb it, like it. And when you absorb something that is required by the body, for all the reasons fatty acids are actually good for us, even it is the use of the energy in the body and through the metabolism. But in every cell membrane, it helps with manage inflammation. It helps with brain health, which we've heard, cardiovascular health, which you hear, many different things, many, many, many different things. And it's global in the body. So why wouldn't it be helping with many, many things? And if all diseases comes down to having an inflammatory component, and the fatty acids work with our system, nervous system, endocrine system, then the fatty acids are very important, right? They're also an important component of preventing disease, maybe even in the healing disease. And reducing inflammation is a very solid reason to take essential fatty acids versus anti-inflammatories for that reason. But I really wanted to kind of highlight those three things within those three main sources of omegas, being plant, fish, and mammal. And the three significant differences, yes, there's the chain, and there's also the forms of omega-3 to omega-6, and what is in plant, fish, and mammal. And then there's the processing from these various oils up through to the seal oil. That's very important. The last thing, just to kind of round off what I was talking about, is the omega-6 and omega-3 ratios. That's very important. This gets to really talking to what they're focusing out there is about taking omega-3s. That I firmly believe that you should take enough healthy omega-3s to enough healthy omega-6, if that's 1-to-1 or 2-to-1. It may depend on your system, and that's important. So the ratio is also important. So the chain length, the forms of the omegas, and also the balance of omega-6 to omega-3 are three very important things to consider. If you are taking plant and not getting the results, quite often a number of doctors that would see that were recommending fish for those people, no matter what diet they were on. Now you have another source, which is the seal oil, but not just another source. There's one source in the world, Auum, A-U-U-M, that actually does it raw. And having worked with it for 10 years, that's the effect, right? So when people go to the cheap refined seal oil and I check in with them, they're not getting the same results, not at all. And the research, which I was instrumental in, well, introducing people and thinking about it and sharing it with the company, that shows great results. That's growing the nerves back, where medical did not show growing nerves back as a possibility, and rather just give pain meds. In the case of, let's say, diabetic neuropathy, and that's really not going to get at the root cause, right? So really, one of the key reasons I come on to talk about the seal oil, the raw seal oil, is because I'd rather look at the root cause than just masking all of the symptoms that you can see just by looking at the disease, right? It's almost like you can't look at the disease and absolutely know what the cause is, because they're not on the same playing field, I guess you could say. It's almost like skin your knee, and you want to look at that scab and you want to look at what's happened, but you're not looking at the tree, the tree root that's sticking out, which the person tripped on. And in that case, just injury after injury after injury is going to come about. So that's just a little example there. But I want to close it up now. And twice a month is going to be, I just want to come on. I want to, yes, record some of this video to help people learn about it, to help people reference it when a lot of people are going, I don't know what to say to somebody. What's the difference? Even though they take it, love it, get great results, this will be an avenue for people to be able to tap into me talking about it and them hearing it. And of course, questions are always welcome. Want to encourage questions, because there's a lot of questions over the years, whether it's about the seal, about sustainability, about toxicity, all of those. And I'll come on and talk to those in the next video. And these will be, I think it's Cheryl Millett YouTube. If you just do Cheryl Millett, you'll get my station and you will find live at 8, all things Omegas. That's the ones that you'll look to, versus live at 5, all things around health. But I want to thank you for listening. And if you know somebody who has these, chronic diseases, which there's always an inflammatory component, it's worth sharing. Just let them know it's something that maybe they haven't thought about. They're using fish oils and it's not as effective for them, even though it's big out there in marketing and doctors are recommending them. There's still not a number of doctors out there and practitioners that actually know about seal oil, and that is slowly changing and very instrumental. That's probably one of the things. So education, be it people or practitioners, would be something I'd be looking forward to doing. So I want to wish everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming on. It is live at 8, Facebook on this channel or Facebook page, where we're doing every other week. It will be listed under events, so you'll be able to just be assured, okay, what's the date I'll be coming on board, and I'll have that out for the next month, anyway, a month at a time. Thanks again. Have a great evening. Any questions, please just post them below, and I look forward to seeing you another time. Take care, Erin. Bye for now.